Welcome, everyone. I am Elizabeth. I'm the Executive Director at the Grafton Area Chamber of Commerce, and I welcome all you. It's so great to see a great crowd this evening. I have the pleasure to introduce Ellen McFarlane, your moderator for the evening.
Thank you. Good evening, and welcome to the Candidate Forum for the Grafton Village Trustees. The purpose of this forum is to introduce the candidates to you, and it's not limited to any one issue. As was already told, my name is Ellen McFarlane. I'm of Ozaukee and Washington counties, known as Ozaukee, and the moderator for tonight's forum. This forum is co-sponsored by the Ozaukee League and the Grafton Chamber of Commerce. I would like to thank Elizabeth Mueller of the Grafton Chamber. She has been very helpful in facilitating the arrangements for this evening. Before we begin, just a few requests. Please silence or turn off all personal devices at this time. We request that there be no applause during the forum. Kindly save your applause for the end. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. It does not endorse or oppose any candidates or political parties. Likewise, the Grafton Chamber of Commerce does not endorse candidates or political parties. The Grafton Chamber of Commerce is recording tonight's forum. The recording will be posted in its entirety on the Chamber's website. In addition, links will be posted on the League of Women Voters of Ozaukee County website and Facebook pages. In light of this, there should be no other audio or visual recordings made at tonight's forum. Questions for tonight's forum were solicited online by the Grafton Chamber of Commerce. In addition, I would encourage you to write the questions you have for the candidates on the cards provided in the back and pass them to one of our student helpers. Please direct your questions to all candidates and be sure they are relevant to the position of village trustee. The questions will be collated by two league members, Donna Fowler and Rosalind Isbell, who will put them into categories and combine similar questions. Then the questions will be given to me to read to the candidates. We are happy to have 5 of the 6 candidates for Grafton Village Trustee participating in tonight's forum. Trustee positions are nonpartisan. I want to make it clear that all candidates were invited and were asked for the best date and time, and this was the date that all 6 candidates agreed upon. I would now like to introduce this evening's participants. I'll introduce them in the order that we determined before the forum, using an online random order generator. Clark Evans, Lisa Uribe Harbeck, Amy Luft, Andrew Schwartz, Kevin Curtis, and Tony Wilhelm. This is the format that we will use for tonight's forum. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to make an opening statement. They will make their opening statements in the order determined earlier tonight. League member Jean Dreblow will be the timekeeper. The opening statements will be followed by responses to questions submitted by the public. We'll continue with 6 or 7 questions or more as time permits. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. All candidates will respond to the same questions. I will read each question twice. Some of the questions are two-parters, so you may want to take notes as I read them. After the question period, candidates will have 2 minutes to summarize their positions on issues in a closing statement. The opinions expressed by the candidates are their own and are not sponsored or endorsed by the League of Women Voters of Ozaukee and Washington counties or the Grafton Chamber of Commerce. All these candidates have chosen to make the effort to run for elected office. As a consequence, they are subjecting themselves to the scrutiny of the voters. Whatever you may think of each candidate's position on issues, they deserve our respect for their willingness to serve in public office. Remarks tonight should focus on questions. In an effort to provide the most information to the audience, we will stay focused on the issues and avoid making comments about other candidates. This is a forum and not a debate. As such, candidates will address the questions posed by the audience. Candidates, please do not address each other. Since if a comment has been made, please just don't address it. Or if you need to address it, please, I would wait until the closing remarks. We will now begin with the introductory remarks, and I'm going to ask them to come to the podium and use this microphone. Clark Evans, will you begin for us, please?
Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for coming to tonight's candidate forum. My name is Clark Evans. I have lived here in Grafton since 2013. My wife and I moved here shortly after moving to the Milwaukee area because we were drawn first by our church, which is in the town of Grafton, but ultimately we found ourselves attracted to all of the natural amenities that are present here in the village. The Interurban Trail was a favorite spot of ours to come to go running or go walking, even when we first moved down here into the Bayside area to start my job at UW Milwaukee that started in 2011. And so we've enjoyed being able to grow our connection within the village, both as a couple and now more recently as a family. We welcomed our son Lucas into our world 2 years ago now. I love this action, this passion that the residents have for the village and for its operations. We've seen that borne out within the last year or so related to the roads in the Heritage Settlement subdivision with regards to the Triangle and County Highway V proposals. And I hope that I have been able to demonstrate my ability and desire to listen and make the best decision that I can based off of the input from all of the residents of Grafton. And I would appreciate the opportunity to be able to continue to do so for another 2 years. Thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to your questions this evening.
Thank you. And now, Lisa Uribe Harbeck.
Hi, I'm Lisa Uribe Harbeck, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm married to my husband, Bill. We have 2 kids and recently our first grandchild. We've lived in Grafton for 30 years. We moved to Grafton because it was a nice small town community, kind of undiscovered then, with lots of green space and parks, a great downtown area with a river nearby and a neighborly feel. Grafton has sure changed in 30 years, but it still has that small town feel and is still friendly and charming. And I want to make sure it stays that way. I work very part-time as a nurse at the Aurora Cancer Care Clinic. My patients are like family to me, just like my neighbors on 17th Avenue. I became interested in running for village trustee 14 years ago when there was talk about removing the Bridge Street Dam. The Save the Dam grassroots organization rallied the citizens together, and we saved the dam through a binding referendum. The voters spoke loud and clear, and with that message. That was 2010 and my first year as a trustee. I believe some of my strengths are that I am focused on listening to residents, gather as much information as possible, and then investigate and come to a conclusion that is best for most. The proposed closure of Grafton Avenue, which I am against, future development, the fire department referendum, and improving overall transparency are my concerns for this upcoming election and into our future. While listening and considering village administration recommendations, I feel I am always responsible to the citizens and their point of view and requests. I would like to continue giving back to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Amy Love.
Thank you all for attending this evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this event. My name is Amy Luft, and I've had the privilege to serve as your village trustee for the past 4 years. My husband and I moved to this area 27 years ago. We raised our family here, and I work here in Grafton at Family Sharing. I currently serve on several committees. I'm a member of the Fire Department Consolidation Group, where we worked on the development of the Fire EMS referendum and the goal of consolidating departments. I serve on the Finance Committee, helping to ensure the physical stability of our village. I serve as the chair of Public Safety and was supportive in the hiring of a full-time fire department captain and recommended the need for a second school resource officer. I voted in favor of the speed radar sign on Falls Road, and prior to serving on Public Safety, I spearheaded the establishment of the crosswalk on 17th Avenue to Centennial Park. I've served 4 years on the Parks and Rec Committee, and I voted to approve the new Riverbend Park and the new proposed pavilion at Veterans Park. I've learned to become a servant leader through my intense involvement with the American Legion family and Stars and Stripes Honor Flight, where the veterans have taught me not to live a trivial life. I volunteer with Meals on Wheels and Interfaith Caregivers, which allows me a chance to visit with our silent residents of our community. I appreciate the opportunity to serve as your trustee and look forward to tonight's discussion. Thank you.
Andrew Schwartz.
Hey everyone, again, my name is Andrew Schwartz. First off, I'd like to thank everyone that is attending this evening. I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters of Washington and Ozaukee County and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. I'd like to thank the American Legion and the Legion Auxiliary for providing a place to have this event. I'm new to village government here in Grafton. I'm a Wisconsin native. I've worked my entire adult life in customer and public service. I spent 35 years working for the government as an air traffic controller and a supervisor in Wisconsin, Indiana, and Ohio. I'm currently a contract employee for the FAA, and I teach people air traffic control. I've lived in Grafton at the same address for 21 years. I volunteered and served in many positions at St. Paul Lutheran Church since we've been members there for 20 years, including president of the school board and chairman of the congregation. When those commitments ended, I was looking to find another place to serve in the community. There was a vacancy on the village board when President DeLorde was elected, and he had been on the village board. So I applied for that position, I interviewed for it, and I was not selected by the village board. Preparation for that process got me interested in village government. Friends and family encouraged me to run for trustee, and that's why I'm running.
Thank you. Kevin Curtis.
Hello, my name is Kevin Curtis. When my wife and I started looking at new places to live about 2 years ago, we first came to look at the Grafton area. What brought us to here was the wonderful schools and the amazing ability, and the amazing natural ability of the area. We fell in love with this place and kept on wanting to move in. When we moved into the area, it was under new development. We were one of the new houses up in the Shady Hollow subdivision. Seeing all the development there made me realize that Grafton is growing and growing at a great rate. Because of this, I wanted to make sure that I had a part in that growth and make sure to help grow Grafton in a sustainable way that allowed us to keep growing in a good way that's good for all the people of Grafton throughout the next 10 to 20 years. This is my first opportunity in government. I'm currently a software engineer, and I've been doing that for the past 14 years. I've been designing infrastructure and code for multiple companies throughout the Southeast Wisconsin area, and I have grown up myself in small towns just as Grafton is. I love it here. I want to stay here, and I want to help out as much as I can.
Thank you. Now for the questions coming from the community. Lisa, you will be the first to respond to question number 1. This is a two-parter. How do you plan to communicate with the village citizens on a regular basis? What methods and platforms will you use? And as I said, I'm going to repeat the question twice, so here's the second time. How do you plan to communicate with the village citizens on a regular basis? What methods and platforms will you use?
Oh, you have. Okay, is that one? All right, let's use it. Great. Okay, thanks for the question. So how do I plan to communicate with the citizens? There's a number of ways that I like to interact with the community. I like to go out to the community and meet residents if they have issues or problems. That is something that I've always encouraged other people to do also. In today's world, I feel like we don't have enough contact with each other. I'm not 100% on social media, so it's hard for me to go on Instagram or any other kinds of TikTok or what I know Clark's on a lot of different things. So I encourage people that I talk to. I like to see people at the meetings who have questions come up to us and answer those, and be able to interact with them. And I like to go out and meet them in their community. So for them to come to me to ask questions, for me to be able to interact with them face to face is how I like to communicate best.
All right. Thank you. I do agree with Lisa on that because I'm old-fashioned and feel that face-to-face communication is the best with individuals. We've lost so much of that in our society nowadays. I always welcome and encourage dialogue with the citizens and the businesses. At Public Safety, I have actually implemented a new procedure at our meetings to ensure that all citizens who voice a concern receive a timely follow-up back. Agendas for our meetings, our board meetings are always online. Again, we encourage people to come to the meetings and voice their concerns. I would love to talk with people at their homes, their businesses. If there's a conflict with something, I'd like to go and see it in person. But people can always reach me via email, by phone, and on my Facebook page as well.
Andrew?
Thank you. My method of communication for basically all of my life has been the telephone and talking in person. You get that feel of whether someone is angry or whether they're happy or their emotions that you don't get in a post on a website. Methods and platforms that I use for communications are just that, talking with people, using the telephone, and if I get an email, I would prefer to follow up with that email with a personal conversation with that person rather than something that would be communicated back and forth in an email. So I'm very much, my platform is in person or over the telephone.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yes, for communicating with the village, two main ways I would like to do this is first through my own personal website and through email. These are two easy ways for people to get a hold of me with ease at their convenience. There are additional ways that we could be doing this. We could be doing this. I would also be looking at I am currently using Facebook. I am also starting to do some in-person meetings with people. Currently, I'm actually going canvassing right now, trying to get to talk to each person that I can and find out what is how to make open hours a certain time that is available at a repeated basis is a good way for us to actually have that in-person conversation.
Thank you. Clark?
Yes, so I'm an all of the above type of person, perhaps befitting my relative age, being sort of in the middle of a lot of different generations. I'm comfortable engaging in person or over the telephone, but I'm also very comfortable engaging over internet and social media. I maintain Facebook, X/Twitter, and Instagram feeds, all Evans for Grafton, with the number 4. I also have a webpage that I recently launched that I'm utilizing to share my viewpoints on matters before the village. But I welcome and encourage emails, contacts. If it's just an email to set up an in-person conversation, I'm happy to be able to do that as well. I think in my time on the village board, I've received about 100 emails from residents. And though I may have missed one or two along the way, I've prided myself in being able to respond to nearly every single one of those and have constructive discussions with the public.
Thank you. Question number 2, and Amy will be starting with you this time. Again, it's a two-parter. What are your priorities and goals as village trustee? How will you measure and report your progress and achievements? I'll read it a second time. What are your priorities and goals as village trustee? How will you measure and report your progress and achievements?
Well, as a trustee on the board, first of all, we are looking to engage more citizen interaction. We're looking at bringing more citizens on to a lot of our committees to get feedback and to be a face. So I am pro citizen involvement. That is one thing that's a goal for me. I also believe that a goal should be for a trustee should be to be the face of the community, to be available when the residents have a question, a concern. Enable for me to achieve that would be to take time. I work part-time, so I do have the time available to participate as a trustee because I think it is a job, and it's more than just a part-time job. It's as much as you want to make of it. So I believe that to achieve that, you have to be available and be willing to be the face of your community.
Andrew.
Well, I think my priorities and goals for Grafton are probably shared by a lot of people. I feel like Grafton is a very great place to live. I think that's why we continue to draw people here, because we have great shopping, great parks, the great river corridor. It's very scenic. It's very hometown. It's got a great feel and great schools. So I think as far as priorities, my biggest priority is to keep all of that, because I think that's what makes Grafton great. So a goal of mine would be to achieve that would be to look at the things that we're moving on to in the future, and do they really make sense for Grafton? And is it really going to add to the quality of life of everyone that's here? And as far as measuring progress or my achievements, you, the voters, will measure my progress or achievements, because if you feel like I'm not standing up to my end of the bargain, I expect you to call me or talk to me about it. And then, of course, by voting, you vote whether that progress or achievement has occurred.
Kevin.
So my priority and goals as village trustee is to make sure that Grafton stays as with the model that's been staying: quality life naturally. That means keeping the small town feel of Grafton while allowing us to continue to grow, keeping services available for everyone, no matter how big or how small Grafton grows. Because as Grafton grows, we are going to have issues with it, not making sure that we provide services for everyone.
Clark.
Yeah, so I think Grafton stands at a crossroads between what it has been and what the future may hold. We have I-43 under construction that will be done within the next year or so, that will provide a highway for people to come straight into the village. We have a very vibrant and active commercial corridor. We have excellent safety, excellent schools. There's a lot to draw people here into the village. And so my top goal, my top priority is to ensure that we have a plan that suits the needs of the village, defined broadly for its residents, for its businesses, and for people who come here to play, to work, or to otherwise recreate. And so the village is looking at revising its comprehensive plan next year. And I think that seeing that to fruition with extensive community engagement is my priority. And working with village staff and the other trustees to ensure that there are ample opportunities for the residents to have of our progress.
Lisa.
So one of the ways that I'd like to contribute is to help with controlling our development. And when I say controlling, I mean controlled development, not smart development, because I think that's a subjective thing. We have a current comprehensive plan right now that sets a goal of at least 64% single family homes and a maximum of 20% multifamily. We're currently around 55% single family and 28% multifamily. We have more apartments here in Grafton than any other surrounding community, except for Germantown and West Bend. So we are obviously smaller than those communities, but the fact that we have more of those multifamily apartments is concerning to me. I'm not opposed to growth, but it needs to be in the right location. We need to continue mandating green space for all developments and not necessarily doing a lot with PUDs.
Time.
What is the PUD?
We're going to have, you can ask that question afterwards. Question number 3, and Andrew, will be starting with you. How do you make a decision on whether an idea is good for Grafton? How do you make a decision on whether an idea is good for Grafton?
How I would make decisions about whether or not something is good for Grafton are 2 things. Number 1, does it make sense to me? And I use that because that's why I'm running, because I use my gauge in my life and how I approach things with honesty and integrity. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I would talk to my neighbors and friends and say, what do you think of this? I would also solicit input from the community at large. And again, it's not about my decision. It's about what the people of Grafton think the decision should be. So by canvassing people, making yourself be out there and looking at alternate points of view that might not be my own, I would come to what I think would be the best decision for all the people in Grafton.
Kevin.
Yeah. The way I would make sure that a decision is good for Grafton is to first ask the community, especially those affected by the changes. That means going out to the people who are in those areas and talking to them in person. A second thing that I would be doing for that is talking to experts, seeing how we can make sure that this doesn't affect us in a negative way. Going through experts and checking out to see every possible outcome and every possible facet that could be happening to this and how that would affect the community. If we do not do that, we are not making sure that we are doing a sustainable thing and making sure that Grafton grows in a safe way.
Clark.
So for me, there's 2 parts to it. The first one is engaging a diverse cross-section of the community, ideally the entire community. Everybody has different life experiences. Everyone has different backgrounds. There are people who have lived here for 2 months. There are people who have lived here for 2 generations. Everybody has a different point of view to be able to bring to the table, and all of those have value. And so being ensured that I have the opportunity to take into account all of the feedback from the diverse cross-section that we have present within the village is first and foremost in my mind. And then the second part is making sure that I've done my homework. There's a ton of resources available online. Other communities face similar issues to what the village is facing. There's our staff, our excellent staff within the village who are well-versed about all of the matters that they're bringing before the village board and before one of its committees, making sure that I have done my homework so that I am well-informed to then synthesize all of what I've learned with all of the feedback from the residents of the village to then make the best possible decision that I can.
Lisa.
And I agree with everyone here. I think we all have a different take on that, but I think the message is the same, that we listen to the residents, we listen to businesses. If we have something that's presented to us at a village board meeting, we will get the information ahead of time. We'll be able to review it. We can investigate, we can call other people, we can talk to some of our experts at the village. And again, we may not get anybody at a meeting that has an opinion about that. We may hear later, we may get emails, phone calls. And my big thing is always to listen to the residents and the citizen. It may not work out, but we need to give everybody a chance. People need to be heard. We need to listen. And in the end, the village board will vote. That doesn't necessarily mean that's good for everybody, but to listen is what is one.
Amy. I like to use a common sense approach. I go with my gut with a lot of things, but that is only after I have done my research on the topic, when I've talked to department heads and the officials and the experts about the topic, and then listen to the residents. But I try not to get persuaded by listening and seeing what I hear and see on social media, because I have to remember that we represent all 12,000 plus residents in Grafton. So it's good to listen to the folks and what they're indicating, but we have to use what we've researched and the facts to base our decision.
Question number 4. And again, it's a two-parter, and Kevin, you'll be starting this one. How will you collaborate and cooperate with other village trustees and village staff? How would you resolve conflicts and disagreements? Now, that's kind of long, so I'm going to read it again. How will you collaborate and cooperate with other village trustees and village staff? How would you resolve conflicts and disagreements?
So the main thing about any sort of conflict or collaboration is talking about empathy and working on it with each other and talking to each other and figuring out each other's point of views and working together to find a common goal together. Collaboration only works that way is if we are trying to think about the other person's point of view at the same time. We are all here together in Grafton, working together to make a wonderful place. And if we don't think about each other, we're not going to be making great decisions.
Clark.
So to take the first part of it, there really are two parts of it: collaboration with the village board and then collaboration with village staff. The state's open meetings rules do put some limits on the collaboration that any one trustee can have with another trustee or another set of trustees outside of an open meeting, except for limited scenarios in which we can go into closed session. And I'm very cognizant of those and want to make sure that the actions that we're taking, the discussions that we're having, are accessible and open to the public as a whole, not just behind closed doors and then you come before us at a meeting. Village board, I've had great opportunity to work with the village administrator, assistant administrator, and other village staff. And in terms of that nature of those collaborations, I'm a big believer in active listening. My wife and I are trained marriage mentors and communicators through our church, Vineyard Church in the town. And that starts with hearing the other person, if necessary, repeating back what you have just heard to them, and then ultimately attempting to come to a greater understanding of their point, using those same methods then to share your point.
Lisa.
So part of being on the village board is getting along with other people. It's getting along with our fellow trustees, even if you don't see the same point of view, which happens. And I don't think any of us have been rude to each other. It's important that we respect what each other thinks and what they say, whether it's in a meeting, whether it's something that you might talk about after a board meeting. Our village staff is a huge resource. We have department heads that are available practically 24/7. If you have a question, a problem, we have an administrator, assistant administrator, always willing to discuss with us. I don't feel that any of the trustees have gotten into anything where we needed to, have somebody talk to us about getting along. I think that resolving conflict is really about recognizing that we think differently, and you don't necessarily, have conflict. You can disagree.
Amy.
I think we're very fortunate. The current board, I believe, works very well together with each other. We respect each other. We listen to each other's opinions. We learn from each other. There have been times when I've gone into a meeting thinking I'm going to vote one way, but after I listen to other opinions, some of the experts in our group, I changed the way I'm going to vote because I'm trying to understand and learn from each other. And that's what makes us a good working team. It's been my experience that when you listen to other people's opinions, you are able to understand them more. You can try to relate what it's like to walk in their shoes. And I try to always put my own feelings aside and try to view it like they see it out of their eyes.
Andrew.
Collaboration and coordination are very important in government. I've spent 35 years working for the federal government. What I see from interactions that I've had with the village board and the committees and boards that are below the village board, I think those people are all very committed and they all have their own opinion and they all read the material and come well prepared to all of the meetings. So I think collaboration and coordination work hand in hand, and they happen together because those people are very well prepared. So I appreciate those people that are already serving the village. As far as conflicts and disagreement go, the village board is a business. So there can be a difference of opinion, but conflict and disagreement shouldn't happen. I mean, the disagreement part is just a point of you make your point and I made my point and they don't agree. But that shouldn't create conflict. Again, we're all trying to do the best for the village of Grafton.
Clark, we'll be starting with you for the next question. What is your position on the Grafton Triangle?
So the Grafton Triangle certainly has been the biggest issue before the village over the course of the last year plus. Proposals that Three Leaf has presented to the village are unacceptable at this point. They own the property. They have the ability to put together an acceptable proposal, and they have not done so. At this point, I conveyed that I would be acceptable with something on the order of 15 to 20 units per acre maximum on the land that they control, not extra land beyond that. And that's where I remain at this point.
Lisa.
Yes, the Grafton Triangle. It is an area that we all have heard from citizens about. There are some citizens who live in the area that may be more vocal. I feel that this is an area, first of all, that is not blighted, in my opinion. It has a couple of homes. It does have some green space, but this is an area that would develop without TID assistance on its own. It's very valuable. As we know, somebody purchased the property. They have a number of parcels on their property, but I also don't agree with taking out Grafton Avenue and donating that piece of property to the developer. This is something that many of us use every day. We are not in the business of giving things away. So that is an area that needs to stay single family. It's zoned for single family, and single family homes should be put in that area.
Amy.
Well, the triangle is definitely a challenging piece of property. It's basically a focal point when you enter our community. It's not hidden off in a corner somewhere. Many of us view it as a gateway to our downtown. Given the development that we've seen in our village so far, staff feels that that property is going to be developed within the next 3 to 5 years, but we need to find the right density for that. We haven't seen that yet. I think that it would be nice to have some single family homes there. I'm not sure that's what we'll see at the end, but what we saw from Three Leaf come through 3 times, and it's been 3 strikes so far, is not right. It's not the right fit. I agree with the 20 units per acre, and I don't want to see anything larger than that right there.
Andrew.
The Grafton Triangle is currently zoned as a residential property. The developer, Three Leaf Partners, bought that property, knowing that that was the zoning for that property, and yet they put forth proposals that were unacceptable to the village because of the large density that they wanted to go there. We have a plan for the community that goes through 2035 that the village has already planned. And if you read that plan, that property should be infilled with a limited traffic generating commercial, educational, or institutional facility. The developer owns 1.4 acres of land on that triangle, and the overall property, they always shop as a 3-acre parcel. The 3-acre parcel would include the vacating of Grafton Avenue, which I oppose. I oppose the triangle concept that they brought forward that would develop high density housing there. I think it should be some sort of institutional or office application. And I also think that they should stay on the triangle.
Kevin.
After talking with lots of residents about the triangle, I also have come to the conclusion that the current proposals for it have been bad choices and are something we shouldn't be doing. The idea of putting in multifamily housing in that area would be causing more traffic issues than it would be solving. Additionally, the removal of Grafton Avenue has been vehemently opposed by the residents of the area because of the same traffic issues that they have been stating. It is important to us to listen to the people of the community and figure out what is best for them. In terms of what could be in that area, we should definitely be looking at what would be the most effective way to limit the number of additional traffic that is being added to that area.
Lisa, we'll be starting with you on the next question. What is your position on allowing the development of other multifamily apartments in Grafton?
So, as I said earlier, we have multifamily developments. We have a higher percent of multifamily than any of our neighbors. That percent right now, I believe at 2020 was about 54%. Our goal in our comprehensive plan is about 65%. But there are certain places that we should put multifamily. It's not necessarily on the triangle. It's not in residential areas. We have designated for Washington Road as an area that they can have multifamily. There are some small multifamily developments scattered about town, but I think we need to be a little more careful about where we go with that and not necessarily putting multifamily around town. That is not good for business. It's not good for our community.
Amy.
I believe that I voted in favor for the Seasons and the Farmstead, and I believe where it's located out on Port Washington Road is a perfect fit for that out there. I do believe that we have to offer multiple opportunities of housing for people, single family, multifamily, condos. We have to have that mix. People want to move to Grafton, and we have to have opportunities for them to have housing. What affects the property value is the crime rate, the age of your property, and the location. So many times multifamily will actually improve the property rate of individual homes, which is what the result was when they did the study by the 1505 apartments. Those values of those homes around there did not deflate at all. So I'm in favor of multifamily, but it has to be the right fit and the right location.
Andrew.
Where we're at now in Grafton, I'm very hesitant to move forward with adding any more multifamily development to the village of Grafton. We have two developments that have sort of broke ground but haven't come to fruition yet at the intersection of Port Washington Road and Falls Road, and those are rather large developments. I'm interested to see that once the buildings are constructed, the quality of the buildings and what they're demanding for rent for those areas, in order to make a determination of whether or not any more large developments are a worthwhile cause for the village of Grafton. They also tend to generate traffic, which everyone knows that if you try to drive through Grafton between 3:30 and 5:30 in the afternoon on Highway 60, you see that problem developing with other developments that are around us that we don't control, like, for example, in the city of Cedarburg that are out there by Circle B, that area. So I think that we need to kind of take a wait and see attitude to more development.
Kevin.
Multifamily developments are important. There's a lot of different ways of people getting their first homes. And unfortunately, currently at the current time, it is a little bit harder now. I know that interest rates have gone up, and I know that prices haven't gone down on homes. That means that a lot of people are looking for these multifamily homes. We do need to find the right balance of making sure that there are those multifamily homes available in the area, and to make sure that we have that. From the numbers that I've been hearing, we do have more multifamily homes than most areas, and I think that's a great thing. I do think that we should continue to keep an eye on that number and keep that number at a stable place so we can have people come to Grafton, because people want to come to Grafton, and we should make sure we have places for them.
Clark.
Yeah, so I think multifamily housing has to be a key component of addressing housing issues here within the village. One of the challenges is that we have very few starter homes available. Recent Zillow search turned up 5 across the entire village. Everything else is new construction, which is over $500,000. It requires a family income of $140,000 a year or more to be able to afford a mortgage on that type of property, even with 20% down. So we have a lack of single family housing, and we need more of that here within the village as well. But we also need multifamily housing to be able to support people who can't afford or maybe want to downsize from their existing home but want to remain in the village, to give them those opportunities to be able to do so. My family went bankrupt when I was in high school. We needed a help to be able to have a house over our or a roof over our heads when I was getting ready to go to college. And I would hate for productive members or potentially productive members of the Grafton community to be forced out of here because they don't have a place that they could live.
Amy, you'll be starting with the next question. Besides residential development, what do you see as the primary issue that the village will face in the next 5 years, and why? I'll repeat that, it's kind of lengthy. Besides residential development, what do you see as the primary issue that the village will face in the next 5 years, and why?
My opinion and my experience indicates that staffing, or especially our fire department, police department, public works department, is a major concern within our village. Recruitment and retention. We see applications come in, but they're not always qualified. We're all digging out of the same pool from our neighbors. Our neighbors right now are all going through a referendum. So if those referendums pass, we are all going to be looking for that same individual from that same pool. I believe that development, having affordable housing is a concern, that we have to make sure that we have that working wage housing available. And I also feel that maintaining our roads in our village is very important. We went from 1 mile to 2+ miles right now, but we need to have more funding to make sure our roads are in proper condition.
Andrew.
The primary challenge that I see to Grafton in the very near future is what I'll call the hollowing out of what our downtown area is. If you go downtown to where the Grafton Hotel is, the corridor where the Paramount Plaza is, most of the east side of that corridor is empty, vacant spaces that are for rent. For commercial businesses or for stores. And I'd like to see some way of propping that up, whether it be helping the owners of the buildings make them a little bit better and make them more pleasant so that people would want to be there. But there's also a lot of for rent signs downtown. Now, I realize that there's a lot of nice development out when you go to the South Commercial District and you go to the East Commercial District by Costco and all that. That stuff is all really well taken care of, but our downtown seems to be floundering a little bit. So I'd like to see some way of propping that up and getting businesses back in the downtown to make it Grafton more of a walkable downtown community.
Kevin.
One of the primary issues that I really do see is, yes, the amount of businesses in the downtown area that are empty. Right now, there's a lot of businesses that could be using that space that currently aren't. We do need to find a way to make that area a little bit more walkable and a little bit more easy for people to use. Different ways of doing that, of course, but a key thing would be to make sure that those places are at a good, maintained well.
Clark.
I think the biggest challenge facing the village is how are we going to pay for all of the essential services that we all have come to value as a key part of maintaining our high quality of life. We see the fire department and EMS referendum now, which I fully support and hope passes. But if it doesn't, we're going to have some serious questions to address as a village board in terms of what funding do we have within the state imposed levy limits to be able to address the very real needs for maintaining our fire and EMS services. We, as our village grows, will need additional resources for the police department to ensure that we are able to stay safe. As the village continues to age, we will continue to have roads that are in need of repair. We increased the amount of mileage that we are doing this year and over the past several years, but it's come at a significant borrowing cost. We have a $5 million issuance for the road and underground utility projects here at a relatively high interest rate. So finding solutions that address our needs while not putting a greater burden on you, the taxpayers, will be an increasing challenge moving forward.
Lisa.
I think our biggest challenge is the fire department right now. We do have the upcoming referendum. Like Amy said, this is something that's so important for our community. This has been the last 10 years of our fire chief fighting every day, making sure that our department is covered every day to take care of the citizens. This only gets worse over time. People are busy. We have families, children have activities. And so the availability is here for volunteerism for the fire department, but there just is nobody. I fully support the fire department referendum. This is going to be excellent for this community. Another thing that I want to quick say is there's an opportunity coming forward that we need more citizen participation on our committees. We are going to be changing some of our numbers on our committees. And so there's going to be open spots for you, the citizens, to participate on all of our committees. That's important for you and for us.
Andrew, we'll be starting with you for the next question. What is the single issue that you are the most passionate about and why? What is the single issue that you are most passionate about and why?
Probably the single issue that I'm most passionate about is the future of Grafton. And to some of the things that have already been talked about, we need to find a way to grow our city services as we grow our population and stay within our revenue limits. I think that the fire department issue is what's going on in the referendum, I think is a good thing, but I think it is a Band-Aid. I think things that need to be addressed that way. The fire department is the first hurdle. The next will probably be the police department, and the next will be the street department, because as we continue to grow, without growth in those departments, finding a way to make those departments grow, we're going to continue to be stretched in everything that we do. So I think that issue looking forward, it continues to be the growth and development of Grafton and how we want to look at the future.
Kevin.
I think the single issue that I am focusing on is sustainability in terms of how Grafton is growing. As we've said here before, Grafton is growing a lot. And the idea that if we do not cover our services with that growth, we are going to have issues. This fire department this is one of the first things that are showing these cracks in the system right now, that we need to make sure we cover these and make sure that we have a way that keeps all have the same quality of life that we have grown to accustomed to in this area.
Clark.
We sound a little bit like a broken record here, but it's really the excitement about planning for our future. There's a lot of great things happening here in Grafton. We don't have immediate challenges that we need to address just to be able to survive as a community. We can look to the next 10, 15, 20 years and what is going to help us thrive. I love that opportunity to plan. We've got a wide cross-section of people here today who are clearly very passionate about the community, you all in the audience, the 5 of us up here, and working with you all to craft what that plan will be, what those opportunities that we can rise to meet so that Grafton can be the shining light of Southeast Wisconsin. It already is in a lot of regards, but I think we can be even better in that context. So I love that opportunity, and I think the village is going to rise to meet the moment.
Lisa.
So right now, I think one of our most important things for the community is we need to be better with transparency. We need to be better at our village board level. We need to be better with the citizens. For you, it's important that you know exactly what's going on with us. So recently there have been some changes, some of them not so good. It's difficult to try to figure out what's really going on if citizens are now being allowed to speak less time than more. Recently, since the last election, there's been a change. And what it says is that citizens are only allowed 2 minutes to speak at the beginning of a meeting. So we work for you. And I think it's important that you need to give us our opinion about what's going on. I also think that you need to be able to speak at a meeting, and we need to speak at a meeting too. So there have been some changes lately that I don't agree with. And I think we need to be more transparent. We need to share information and be able to report back to you.
Amy.
The issue that I am most passionate about is the fire EMS referendum. When the village took over the fire department in 2013, we had 800 calls that year. This 2023 year ended and we had 2,070 calls. That's a 10-year increase of 95%. We're seeing a change in society. There is just a decline in volunteerism. The merger is not the reason for this referendum. It's a staffing issue. We are seeing an increased challenge with our threats to public safety. We need to have 5 individuals to get a fire truck out and to get an ambulance out. By hiring this additional staff, we will be able to get 2 vehicles out in Grafton simultaneously and 1 in Saukville. We also need to make sure that we have an intergovernmental entity that's going to be overlooking the fire department. Consolidating will offer us more flexible staffing and more efficient hours.
Kevin, we'll be starting with you for the next question. Little different direction here. If the village were gifted $1 million with no stipulations on what to spend it on, and I'm going to add with no impact on your levy limits, what suggestions would you have to spend the money? I'll repeat that question. If the village were gifted $1 million with no stipulations on what to spend it on and no impact on levy limits, what suggestions would you have to spend the money?
That is a great question. If we had $1 million as a gift for the village, I do think that we should make sure we staff the current EMS and fire systems that we do need. That is one of the key things. We should also look into any other services that have long-term problems that need to be brought to our attention. I know that there will definitely be long-term things in the future that we could fix at this time before they become an issue and before they become another tax burden on the residents of Grafton.
Yeah, so that's a fun question. Thank you to whoever asked that. I think for a $1 million gift, the focus would be on things that are tangible. Very straightforward one would be the Triangle property. 3 weeks paid $900,000 for that property. $1 million, I think, would be a fair offer for that. That would address a lot of the concerns that the residents have about what sort of development would go there because it would fall fully within the village's control. Beyond that, we have things like the path around the Heritage Settlement subdivision and just connectivity for pedestrians and other vulnerable users across the village. Being able to invest in that where there's limited, but would have a significant impact, positive impact on the quality of life of residents here, I think would be a great venue to explore. Extending the interurban trail toward Kennedy Elementary School, for instance, or facilitating its westward extension in conjunction with the county project that's going to extend it westward along Highway 60 in the next year or so.
Lisa.
The first thing I would do is I would try to upgrade and update our aquatic center. Park and Rec and the Aquatic Center, it's a special revenue fund. They only get a certain allotment of money every year from the budget. So $1 million, we can put in a really nice splash pad at the Aquatic Center. The other thing that needs attention are our small community parks. All the little pocket parks that are in everybody's neighborhood that are older. If you're not in a new development, you don't get a nice new park. So all of those parks around the community need a facelift and an upgrade. And I think people would be thrilled with that.
Amy.
If we had $1 million, I would definitely take a chunk of that and give it to the police department, the fire department. Public safety is the top of my mind always. So whatever they would need for staffing, new buildings, which we're going to need if that referendum passes. I also believe in putting it towards roads construction to make sure our roads and sidewalks are maintained. And then additional, if there was extra left over, also to go to the parks. I like the pool idea as well.
Andrew.
$1 million sounds like a lot of money to an individual, but to government, $1 million really isn't a lot of money, unfortunately. My immediate thought on this question would be to turn around and make $1 million offer to 3 big partners and buy the Triangle back and turn it into a community park.
Clark, the next question is for you. Do you have any changes you would like to see for the feel of Grafton? Do you have any changes you would like to see for the feel of Grafton?
By and large, no. I think the feel of Grafton is a very positive, very life-giving one. I think if there was a feel of Grafton that I would like to see some changes in, I think it would be with regards to the speed of vehicular traffic through the village.
Yeah.
Most of our roads have 25 to 30, 35 mile an hour speed limits, but I understand the policy decision by the police department that their enforcement begins at about 12 miles per hour over the speed limit. We've seen a preponderance of signs on Falls Road east of 17th. We've seen it on 16th Avenue north of Falls, where people have indicated slow down with these handmade signs in 25 mile an hour areas where cars are regularly going faster. I would like to see the feel of that need for speed, so to speak, to borrow another junior phrase, be toned down a little bit. I understand we don't need to necessarily have strict enforcement right at the speed limit, but something in the range of 7 to 8 miles per hour rather than 12, I think would have a significant impact.
Lisa.
So I think that the feel of Grafton is something that we experience every day. And that's something that I talked about initially. That's one of the reasons we moved here initially. It's small town, it's friendly, it's charming. The downtown area is still pretty much the same. So I think that I would like to kind of capitalize on that. I wish that we could have more community activities in the downtown area to bring more people and more, and businesses could have more exposure. Our biggest asset is our downtown, is our small community. I do agree that the speed can get a little bit much, but again, the police chief has said that this is something that, these are the rules, 12 miles over. But I think if we all travel through Grafton as if we're traveling in our neighborhood with our children, I think that will help.
Amy.
I would like to see the feel of Grafton to be focused a little bit more on the downtown area. You know, we don't have that advantage like Cedarburg and Port Washington does and have that main street right through their downtown. We have to make sure that we develop that area. We've done a great job with the South Business District with Blaine's and the 1505 apartments. But I think there's other ideas that we could bring to that downtown area to revitalize it even a little bit more. And also just to make it a warm area for walking, pedestrians, and parks.
Andrew.
Changes I would like for the feel of Grafton. Obviously, if money were no object. We have a tremendous river corridor that the Milwaukee River presents Grafton with. Veterans Park provides one really great access point to that. But the whole river corridor, I'd like to see some way of perhaps developing a walking trail or something along there to kind of highlight what we have available here in Grafton. And I realize that with the residential development that exists kind of between Limekiln Park and Veterans Park, that would be a difficulty. But I think you could make several different access points to that and really highlight in the Falls Road area and just highlight access to that to make it kind of a short post.
Kevin.
As one of the more recent residents of Grafton, I do have to say that I really came here for the feel of Grafton. So there's not much I would change. There are certain areas of it that I would continue to develop upon. The downtown feel of some of the newer buildings that are in the area have made it feel much more of a cozy small town than anything else. Keeping up with those kinds of developments will help continue to grow Grafton's downtown and continue to make it a more walkable area too.
I'd like to thank the audience for the questions which were submitted. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to ask all the questions. I'd also like to compliment you on the respect and decorum that you have exhibited tonight. So thank you for that. We have come to the point in the forum where each candidate will have 2 minutes to summarize their position. Closing statements will begin with Lisa, who would have gone first had there been another question.
Controlling development is one of my top priorities. For example, no high-density housing in single-family residential areas. The comprehensive plan sets the criteria for future development and should be followed. Recently, changes have been made allowing higher density apartment complexes in expanded areas. We need to be very careful about that. The proposed Triangle project is a perfect example. It's currently zoned single-family residential and is shown on the comprehensive plan as suitable for future mixed community use. It should stay that way. I'm also firmly against the proposed closure of Grafton Avenue in connection with any development of the Triangle. That is a road that is used by many of us. To close it and give a section to a developer is crazy to me. It puts developers over the people. Transparency and residents' right to be heard is another concern. Changes have been made in the last year that limit our residents' ability to speak at meetings, but trustees have also been restricted from asking questions at board meetings. This makes it harder for trustees to do their jobs. We also need to improve residents' access to the people who are making decisions that affect them. Currently, no phone numbers are listed on the village website for several trustees. And for communities and for committees such as the Plan Commission, there is no way for a resident to contact them directly. This is wrong. Our representatives should be directly accessible. If they don't want to be directly contacted, they shouldn't have the privilege of serving us. Finally, our fire department has reached a critical juncture. Our call volumes are 86% and will continue to increase with the new development. The referendum will add more full-time staffing, allowing us to respond to more than one emergency at a time. This means improved outcome with fast, high-level 24/7 care. Please consider how this will affect your family. I am voting yes for my family, and I'm asking for your vote on Tuesday, April 2nd.
Amy. It is an honor to be here with the other candidates tonight. I'm glad that we have folks who are interested and willing to serve in our community, and thank you all for attending as well. Grafton is a community of choice. As our village grows, we are becoming a vibrant community that people want to call home. Serving as a trustee since 2020 has provided me with a deep understanding of the needs of both the residents and the businesses. I'm an advocate for supporting local business and ensuring that your tax dollar provides the finest municipal services available in the most cost-effective manner. My degree in business management, 25 years of sales and marketing, and my many roles in the nonprofit sector have allowed me to master various business skills, all which I bring to the table as a trustee. I have a common sense approach and view myself as a forward strategic thinker. My late father, World War II Army veteran, was a small business owner and a volunteer firefighter. I learned a sense of pride for community from him. When I was young, he told me, your community is only as good as it is by what you give back to it. My character and passion for our community are my greatest strengths. I believe my background and experience will help guide our community in making key decisions that are best for you, the residents, and our businesses. As a trustee, I pledge to ensure that everyone's position is considered in a thoughtful manner. I appreciate the opportunity to serve as your trustee. I remain committed to our community, and I ask for your vote for re-election.
Andrew.
I would like to thank all the people in attendance to give your lives to find out more about the candidates for village board. If you are convinced to vote for one or more of us up here tonight, tell your family and friends to encourage them to go vote on April 2nd. Government of all levels works best when you vote for people who share your opinions and values, and it goes beyond voting. Stay engaged with local happenings and voice your opinions to those on various committees and boards and your village board. Your opinions matter, and give direction to those who are making decisions on the who, what, where, and when that your hard-earned tax dollars are being spent on in the village. This village has been a great place to live, shop, and play for my family over 20 years. I would like to help keep it that way for you and your families as well. I would greatly appreciate your vote on April 2nd.
Kevin.
I do want to thank everyone who came here and everyone online who is currently watching this. Spending the time and making sure that your voice is heard is the most important part of having a village government. Without it, the government does not know what we should be doing and how we can best be helping everyone. I'm very glad to be up here because this is a very good opportunity for me to help out with my community. I moved here 2 years ago because I love the community so much and I want to keep it growing. Seeing all these people here is very kind to see their nice faces and some of the people I've even talked to at their houses. My main purpose for running for the candidacy here is to make sure that Grafton stays this way and make sure that the growth that it will be having in the future is sustainable and also best reflects the quality of life that Grafton has here and brought me and my family here.
So first off, thank you all for attending here this evening, for your questions, for your engagement, both at this event as well as at village meetings and through email and other forums. We work best when we hear from you, the residents, you, the business owners, you, the visitors to our community. I will say some of my most favorite engagements that I've had in the 10 months that I've been able to be a trustee have been when people have disagreed with me. Because I learned from you more when you disagree than when you agree with me. You help me see, you help us as elected officials see our weak points, things that we would not be able to see otherwise. That's the attitude I bring to being a trustee, and that's the attitude I would continue to bring being a trustee. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and to the Grafton Chamber of Commerce for helping to organize this event here as well. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone here today. Looking at issues specifically, we have a lot of great things here in Grafton. We have a lot of challenges on the horizon for us. Fire and EMS is a top priority. Police department is excellent. We live in one of the safest suburban communities in the entire country. We need to ensure that it is able to stay that way. We have a lot of people, a lot of companies that would like to be here in the village, and we need to be able to ensure that we have a comprehensive plan, not just for 2025, not just for 2035, but one that suits us out to 2045, 2050. Not just my kids, but my kids' kids and what they would see here growing up in the village. So I also look toward sustainability of all of our operations. Finances are a challenge with the state imposed revenue limits. We have opportunities to seek out grant funding that we have historically as a village not been able to do so or not chosen to do so, to be able to cover things like our roads, our parks, and other amenities. And I'd like to see us be able to continue to do that moving forward. So thank you all for your consideration. I hope that I have earned the privilege of your vote. If I have not, I would love to engage with you to understand what matters to you. Thank you for your time.
This concludes the forum. We hope that this forum has given you, the voters, the information that will help you cast an informed vote on April 2nd. Also, check out the website vote411.org. This is a National League of Women Voters voter guide in which our local league is participating. All candidates have been contacted by an Ozaukee, Washington League member, inviting them to provide information and respond to 3 questions regarding the upcoming election. We thank the candidates for giving us their time and their thoughts this evening. Would you help me thank them for being here? And even more important, for coming and to become informed voters. Thank you so much for coming.